Remember that first horrifying encounter that you had with Lisa Trevor in her cabin in this first Resident Evil remake game of Capcom's? Yes, it sure was a terrifying and very unsettling one, as well as that whole situation just being a really disturbing and jolting one too. But what if I told you that not only has Lisa never been one of the true monsters of this first Resident Evil horror adventure, but that I don't even believe that she was ever really trying to significantly harm or kill us throughout the game as well? What? You're probably thinking that right now. And preposterous. You might even be saying that as well. But I didn't misspoke. I really believe that was true. And you've come to the right place for me to elaborate all the more on all of that. So I don't think Lisa Trevor was ever really our enemy in any way throughout this entire fascinating but terrifying survival horror journey. Not even in those underground tunnels that she just happened to be coming through and encountering us while we were trying to escape those underground passageways. At least that's what I believe and really think it was. Don't get me wrong. I don't believe that she would go around to look for a tea-drinking buddy and for someone to enjoy a game of Go Fish with. But I also do not believe that she was hunting us down with focused determination and a deadly intention to destroy us either. So to reiterate that bombshell thought that I presented to you just earlier, and to ask again for emphasis, do you think that Lisa Trevor was ever really trying to harm us in that first encounter that we had with her in that deep woods cabin home of hers? Well, you already know what I thought about that first encounter, and it's that I didn't really believe that she really was desiring to harm us throughout that entire game, and I am about to get into all the nitty-gritty about it all right now, because from the get-go, everything already did not appear as you would have expected. Like, how about that part where she didn't kill us while we were unconscious and lying on her living room floor of that cabin of hers that we somehow ended up on instead of that little platform where we got knocked out at? My best guess, by the way, is that we were probably just dragged there after being knocked unconscious by her and then just left her for dead, or for the Grim Reaper to come and claim. But why the heck did she attack us in the first place then, at that bedroom entrance? Oh, but did she? How about we try seeing it in just a slightly different way, shall we? Because why did we enter her home without her permission in the first place then? Why were we trespassing on her property, dude? So as an uninvited home intruder, she didn't know whether we were going to be friend or foe, and especially after suffering a lifetime of abuses and betrayals in that mansion of horrors nearby and within those terrifying laboratories nearby as well. And after going through what she did in those horrifying places around there, I wouldn't be surprised at all if she had lost all of her trust in humanity as well. I'm pretty sure you would have too if you had gone through that exact same ordeal that she had. So, who could blame her for acting in that way in her first encounter with us? Because once again, if you actually read her story and all those other documents, in general, from that horrifying mansion, her apparent distrust in humanity would not be that hard to understand at all. And besides her attack being done because of a stranger's trespassing her home, that first strike must have also just been a knee-jerk reaction of fear and concern. Because, I mean, who wouldn't have acted pretty much in that same way if they had just randomly encountered some stranger in their home in the dead of the night? That's what I thought. But as I was hinting at earlier, you really didn't even have to engage her in battle with that whole big first encounter. And remember that she can't really be harmed or killed with regular bullets and your typical weapons anyways. I think that a lot of people start blasting and attacking her simply out of fear, and mainly because of how hideous and unsightly her appearance really was. But if you had just retreated at that appearance of hers, after coming to, from being knocked unconscious of course, and then just climbed down into that area where you found that green crank, then as soon as she starts to drop down to come after you, you can just climb right back up and avoid engaging with her altogether really easily. At least that's how it was with me and with my first attempt to avoid engaging with her in battle at all in that cabin scene. So then, the real mystery about our Lisa lady now becomes, I'd say, and the one that I've actually been really wanting to figure out, if we can just circle back to it, is this huge one. So why didn't she brutalize and pulverize us to smithereens when we were lie on that floor and run-down cabin of hers? Oh, and you may also be wondering, why the heck did she even drag us to that middle spot of her cabin in the first place when we were unconscious, right? Well, the obvious and logical answer, I'd say, is that she just wanted to get us out of the way of her bedroom. But my point is this, if she really was such a hideous monster and vicious fiend that so many people see her as, and that she appeared to be, why didn't she just brutalize and take advantage of us then in our vulnerable state? Because apparently, as a monster, wouldn't that have been the most obvious thing that she would have done to us when we were unconscious and helpless like that? Honestly ponder and ask yourself those things, because they've been baffling to me for years, ever since I first experienced that scene. But don't get me wrong, though, I'm glad we didn't get bludgeoned by her while we were unconscious. But once again, if she really is such a monster like so many see her as, and that she seemed to be, why didn't she act in accordance with those perceived notions? It all sure makes you think, doesn't it? Particularly about all of the subtle and implied things that the brilliant writers of this first, our e-adventure, may have been trying to communicate to us that whole time. Okay, you might just be thinking right now, you're starting to get me sold on this idea that Lisa Trevor probably wasn't even really that much of a monster at all like so many had thought and figured her to be all these past years. But I've got you now, stream. What about immediately after we got up? So why did she attack us then? And my response would be, just like that first time that she attacked us, it was probably all some big misunderstanding, and she probably just took us to be one of those vicious and ultra-evil scientist chumps and punks who had so severely mistreated her so very much, and for so very long around that place. But get this about that second immediate encounter that we had with her, though. The one right after coming to, from our unconsciousness or from after getting knocked out by her. As I just said a few moments ago, you really didn't have to engage with her at all. You didn't. Just retreat to that crank area and climb back up immediately as soon as Lisa had gotten into her motion to go down there after you. And you should have been able to easily avoid spending or wasting a single bullet on her with that whole encounter. And once again, at least that's what happened with me in my first attempt to totally and completely avoid engaging with her in that first meeting of ours. So the first time that I tried this non-fight tactic with Lisa in that infamous first encounter we had with her, I succeeded. And the point being that that was how easy it was and how easy the Resident Evil 1 Remake developers made it to be. So in light of all that, when it came to this whole Lisa character and particular situation in this award-winning horror game, that easy escape from battling her in that first encounter, and really, all of our encounters with her, might have just been more big, subtle hints to us and the developers about who she really was, and what all really did tragically happen to her in those decades that led up to that fateful encounter that we did have with her. And once more, all of that also contributing to that long-employed media strategy of how sometimes things are not as they appear, and also that sometimes, I guess it's true what that famous line says about how sometimes we might actually just be a bit too quick to judge a book by its cover. So I hope this entire video has greatly helped you to flip open that cover of Lisa Trevor's and see all the scars and mistreatments of hers that had made her into that horrific and hideous-looking creature that we did find her to be at the time of our adventuring through that mysterious mansion. And most importantly, hopefully you've also now realized, like I have, that maybe, just maybe she wasn't even really our true enemy that whole time. And just also maybe that we were on the same side and we're both actually battling those same true enemies all along.